Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Welcome to this episode of the Note Closers. As always, I'm Scott Carson, your host. Excited to be here today. We've got a very special guest. I am honored to have my friend Michael Silvers join us this morning from the West Coast, who's out battling in traffic this morning with grandkids and fighting a good fight to be here on time. So first of all, thank you, Michael. I know you've been a very busy guy like I have, gallivanting back and forth across the country. But well, first of all, good morning.
Good morning.
Doing all right this morning?
I'm doing perfect. I'm grounded now, and usually I'm pacing. Scott, is anybody who ever knows me or gets to know me, but for you, I sit still today.
That's good, because I think our live viewing audience will be like, where's he going? He's going back and forth like a tennis match.
He's here, he's there.
Well, for those that don't know how awesome a guy you are, why don't you take a couple seconds or so and share with everybody out there who Michael Silver is and why they get some great nuggets out of today's Note Close Show episode.
Oh, fantastic. I'm really glad to be here, and thank you so much. And again, anything I can help your audience with, always open and happy to. For me, really, again, I was born and raised. No, we won't go that far back, but I was born and raised in Los Angeles. Anybody else? Okay. So, for me, it's been about a 20-year journey in personal development. For me, it started with where a lot of people started in that world was network marketing. Mm-hmm. And in the first year, what I realized was I needed to build a team. It wasn't about the product and everything else. So built a team, all of a sudden learned everything I could from Bob Proctor and Ziglar on leadership. They were part of it. So I spent some time with them, was very honored. And we built out a coaching program. All of a sudden, I realized with my background in clinical psych, I could build coaching. And now I started to spend 5 years of my life in Australia. And, again, it was that preamble of where's your life going next and how are you going to take the road? Mm-hmm. And my road kept moving back towards this personal development. So at that point, had a great network marketing team. I honestly said, is it okay if I travel, go and change the world? And they're like, we got this. Go, go, go. And part of that too, Scott, was, if any of you know, ever heard of the Millionaire Mind Intensive, I took 45 members of my team there. And what that did is by taking a lot of our team through that, is they had the mindset to move forward no matter what. And that changed my life because that created true freedom for my wife and I to be able to really go on this other journey of personal development, help speakers along the way. And in the last 15 years, I've done 4,000 calls with people in personal development, Wayne Dyer, everybody out there. I've been on stages. I've probably been in every country there is that has personal development. And now work with the team for the last 8 years that even puts Tony Robbins and Robert Kiyosaki on around the world. So I've learned a lot. I've done stages. I build programs, and now I'm working very intimately with one of the head of Instagram TV. So really, again, building out for how do we leave a legacy, and that's where I'm at. It's legacy time. It's how do we take everything we've learned from all this around the world and everything that we do, all the connections we've made. But really, I now look at my grandkids, and I'm doing everything I'm doing now for my grandkids. Does that make sense?
Totally makes sense. And we've got a lot of people on here who can identify with that, wanting to do something for the grandkids. We've got a bit more. We don't have a young crowd on here. We have a more seasoned crowd, I like to say, who listen to the Note Closer Show and watch the videos and join that. Because most real estate investors are like that. Our normal avatar is 35 to 65. And those that have a little bit more seasoning or more notches on their belts, they've got family. It's not about what they can sock away because you can't take it with you. You want to help those that you're going to be leaving behind. And I love the fact that you use the word leave a legacy, right? I was just in the Bahamas a few weeks ago with my buddy Jeffrey Taylor, who's Mr. Landlord with a couple hundred people, and was talking about leaving a legacy. We had an event a few years back called Create a Legacy. I believe that's you can only do so much for yourself and before you get burnout. But when you start building things, not only for yourself, but for your family, your grandkids, and building other people successfully, that's really the passion that drives us all as real entrepreneurs, right, Michael?
That it is. And, you and I, one thing we've done is we've both spoken in front of hundreds of thousands of people. And what you realize when you're on stage is, number one, it's not about you, right? It's never about us. It's the one thing I like about you, Scott. It's never about you. And everybody we touch out there has a potential to communicate to, let's say 20 people.
Yeah.
And if we have that message on stage of being of service and it's all about them, how are they then going to take that message out? And we talk about, right, financial legacy. If we both are out there creating these markets of individuals who are independently wealthy, financially free, passive income, then my next turnaround is, while you're doing that, go be of service. Time, right? Money's easy to give. It's the way. But spend the day at the soup kitchen. Spend the day with the home. Start to do those things and take your kids and grandkids with you. That's that piece.
That's such an important thing, because I think we all at some point, as entrepreneurs, the road is not straight and narrow. It's twisted, under construction. You got to backtrack sometimes, full of off ramps. But that's the important thing, is that no matter what we do, oftentimes, even our worst days, we've got it better than a lot of people out there. I think so many of us have to keep that in mind. Yeah. That just because we're complaining about our meal, we at least have a hot meal. Right. Our shirt might have a stain on it, but at least we have a shirt. Right. The hotel, the hot water in the hotel might take a little longer to come on, but at least we have hot water. Yeah. It is. The thing is, and you've seen this so much. I love, you talked about learning from Bob Proctor early on, and I've had a chance to spend some time with Bob at different events and speak on stage with him. Just a great guy. And most people don't realize that he got his start in janitorial services for the most part, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right.
That's one way to be humble.
It's great, right? When you're in front of an audience, you talk about Bob Proctor, especially, I always say, envision this. Toilet Bob. Now put this together and figure it out. And that man made a dynasty. I mean, it's amazing. So, but I think, Scott, that's the thing, right? You do whatever it takes, and sometimes, by the way, everyone, I've spent a lot of time with T. Harv Eker in my life. So if you hear things come out sound like that, it's just imprinting and anchoring. But it's those do whatever it takes. And how do you look at a situation in a different way? Right? Because again, from what he built, how many people did he employ? How many people had jobs that might have not? How did he create a positioning for them that was never in their life before? And, I think that's the beauty of legacy of what we're all creating is we don't have the problems. We're in that even 100th, the 1 percentile, which means we have a bigger responsibility.
I think we totally do. But to get to that one, I know I spent this past weekend in Orlando at PodFest with a bunch of podcasters, and there's really kind of 3 levels. You have somebody who wants to do a podcast, hasn't done anything, who's just starting off, and then you have people that have been around for a while, have gotten over that hump. And that's the same thing I see in real estate. I see that in a lot of things. People that want to do something but don't know where to begin. Those are kind of getting started, got their toes in the sand, don't know if they're going to stick. But then those that stick beyond it, it's kind of the fact of we've got to kind of grow our mindset from where we're at today to where we want to be, to get where we want to be, right, Michael? I think it's the big thing that most entrepreneurs and people struggle with out there, huh? Would you agree with that?
It absolutely is. And it's that sticky. Well, now you're going to talk my language. So you hit podcasting. I did a whole seminar on that. And, so it is, you take a look at the statistics of how do I keep myself engaged in, and really, again, it's the larger audience that I'm starting, no matter what business anybody's in, no matter where you're going, to have a social media arm and to have people know you and promote you is just huge. So if you take a look at podcasting, it is on the verge of explosion. It's still not even there. If you really look at the statistics, 83% of people drop away after 21 shows. Why? There's no feedback. It is boring. You can think of it that way. I'm talking to myself. I don't see myself, because a lot of times they think it is just the audio part. They don't realize the whole video nation around it. But I've shown it to my brother, and he went, well, that sounded nice, but you don't have that kind of feedback where when you're punting out the YouTube shows and it was live and all your cronies around the world were watching it, your shows get delayed and hit the next week. So there is that staying power. The other thing that happens is you got to realize, just in the United States, 124 million people have heard of podcasting. So if you take a look at something that's just about to start, and you take a look at where it's going to go, we're in the infancy. So do you want to be part of this infancy? And we talked to a YouTube influencer yesterday who's jumping over, and her comment was, but it's a lot of work because with the YouTube channel, we have the camera sets and this and that and scripting the show, you know, because she's an influencer and it could take a week to produce a show. I said, think of it this way. I get my iPhone. I talk into it as I'm walking down the block for 18 minutes. I've got a podcast show. And so I think it's that shift in mindset with what is it? What is your message? What do you want to create? And also, that's the other thing we get all the time, Scott. What is my message? Can you talk? I can talk. Can you talk on an iPhone? I can talk on an iPhone. Then you can podcast. Because audience will come from either the specialty, like for your show, things that they're listening to. But I've listened to your show. You don't just talk about notes, right? It's brilliant because it brings in cutting edge what's going on around the world. And for those who are just starting to podcast, here's what I say. Do 21 shows for 10 to 18 minutes. I don't care. It doesn't matter. Talk on your phone. After 21 shows, if you still think, you know, this is not bad, do it over a month or two. I don't care. Do it 10 minutes a day. If you're like, I am really enjoying this message, you can podcast. If at that point you're like, I'm bored, I never want to do this again, it's not for me, find somebody else to podcast for you. That's as simple as it is.
That's exactly right. And I say the same thing in any type of marketing. I mean, you just have to build a consistency. And they start talking about, hey, that habits are made after 21 days straight. And it's actually 66 days straight is the true thing where you build a habit. But at 21 days is a good start, or 21 consecutive things of doing something. And that's kind of where I got started back in November 1st, 2016. Is like when Facebook Live came out. I was like, well, let's use this. I'm just going to share a day in the life, or what's going on in WCN world here. You know, what's going on with the note guy. What are little things that you're working on today for your business? And I compare that to kind of, that's the way to kind of build it and see if you can sustain it, but also build to the point where like, oh, I kind of like this. It gives people the 21 days straight you talk about, or 21 episodes straight, gives people time to start building that feedback a little bit. Unfortunately, we are such impatient creatures.
Yes, we are.
You know,
yeah.
That, if we don't get an immediate gratification back, oh, they didn't like my selfie. Oh, they didn't like my my YouTube video. I didn't go viral the first time out. I'm not going to do this.
That's right. You know, it's funny about like Instagram, right? Because it's the picture set, and you'll have somebody come up to you and say, "Only 4 people. What am I doing?" You know, they're taking pictures of their face over. Now, some people like. Remember the egg on the internet, the egg that blew up to, and now it's the egg with the crack, but you never know. And that's that piece. It's like there are certain platforms that there is more of a message involved, and there's messaging, and it takes maybe a little bit more tweaking. The beauty about podcasting is especially, and I'm not, you know, part of what we're doing is we're creating a syndicate. So we want to create podcasters who play together. But part of that is to work with a group of podcasters so you get a little bit of feedback. And I think that will help people move forward. I think that's going to be a shift in the podcasting world is, you know what, Scott, we'll play together. We'll actually promote each other. We'll, you know, and I really, truly believe in don't promote what you don't believe. You know, there's that, because then we talk ad rev, and guys, don't even worry about that. That's down the road. But just promote what you believe, because people will know it. And really, again, just be able to, whatever that message is. There's podcasts about being grandpas. How many of you are grandpas, right? Raise your hand. Podcast about being a grandpa once a week. Your show would explode, because I'd be on it. I work with so many grandpas or going to be grandpas, right? Or uncles who trying to figure out their nieces and nephews. Don't limit yourself to whatever that message is.
That's like a grand pod right there. The name for a title.
Okay, guys, that's mine, because that's actually brilliant. That if Scott gets it first, that's fine. But
well, I was being in Orlando. They got the new London Eye, not the London Eye, the Orlando Eye. I was like, oh, let's go film a podcast from a pod.
Right, that's right.
But you said something really strongly there that I really love, and this goes across the whole board. And we don't just focus on everything being notes. Like, this is not a true kind of typical note episode, which is great, but it's an entrepreneurial episode, or it's a marketing episode of how people can expand their audience. Be you. You don't have to be Scott Carson. You don't have to be very Gary Vaynerchuk. You don't have to be John Lee Dumas, whatever. I can't remember pronounce his last name. It was great. He got roasted this weekend at Podfest. It was awesome.
I love it.
You don't have to be Pat Flynn. You don't have to be any of these people out there. You can go be you and just sharing what you're going through, sharing whether you're Casey Lang, the truck driver who's also a nut investor, or you've got Dan Deppen, the rocket scientist who quit his job to chase his first time, or you've got Catherine Brennan, the realtor in Chicago, who's doing this in the part-time. Share your story, share your tidbits, because that will identify other people to flock to you, right, Michael?
That's exactly right. And it's not boasting. That's the other thing too. One thing we did is we did a lot of work with Olympic athletes, and when they're building their businesses, they get caught on this. I especially if they're from like Australia, I don't want to boast about myself. And you try to explain to people, okay, from being a stay-at-home mom, which is the most amazing, hardest thing on the planet, right, to an Olympic athlete, you have a story. You've done something that nobody else has ever done. Well, there's a million other Olympic athletes. No, there's not. I'm a stay-at-home mom. There's Billy, but there's no one like you. And to this day, we're still not sure why some messages just absolutely explode and some take a little longer. But the podcasting world's so big, everybody's looking for a show. And that's where really, again, think of it this way, Scott. It was explained once. This is great. Is if we always have the forest in front of us and we're looking at all the different trees. But if you just focused on one tree for a moment, right? And you fed that tree and you watered that tree and how does it grow and the colors and all of that, that's a beginning. And then you can start to look at the second tree and the third tree. And now you have a forest. What happens is we look at the forest, we go, it's too much. I can't do this. There's too much out there. And you never get focused on just getting it done, getting the first show in the can, starting of where, I don't know how to even get my show up. It's so easy nowadays, and we'll talk about that in a minute. It's not as easy as it used to be, by the way. Apple is definitely starting okay, we're going to look at everything, but there's so many ways to do it, all of you. Just start. You got a message, you're leaving a legacy, or find somebody around you who wants to podcast, and you're broadcasting yourself.
That's correct. And there's so many, it is a lot easier than I thought. That was the biggest thing. I pushed off doing it for a while. My current producer, Tom Hazard, came to me and he was like, oh, you should do this. I'm like, no, I don't want to do that extra work. I don't want to have to edit the audio. I'm just a one take guy. I don't want to, right. I don't want to be all polished. Just give me one take. And that's why I like the YouTube videos or the Facebook Lives. It's just me. I don't need to edit those. He's like, no, idiot. You just take the audio and repurpose it. I'm like, oh, okay. I was wrong. And a lot of people don't realize it's like you said, if you got a phone and you can record yourself for 18 minutes or 12 minutes or 15 minutes or 30 minutes or whatever it is, you've got something there. We've all got messages. As Seth Godin likes to say, we all are leaders of tribes out there. If you're not leading your tribe, they're going to listen to somebody else. And why not? Why would you want them to listen to you? And
that's right.
Understand where you're coming from, right?
That's right. That's exactly right. And by the way, the hazards are amazing. So it is. And I say it to everybody right now. And sometimes we talk about this. Is we complicate it, right? We again, you and I again, we see it all the time in the world. It's like you just want to kick their can a little bit, kick them down. Stop complicating this. So today, everybody on this call, and it's not about whether you want to do a podcast or not. That's not the point, because not everybody does. It's right. It's not reality. But how do I get my message out there? And the one thing I say when people are starting to look at what their podcast is, first of all, I tell them just to shoot 21 shows. Just film, just tape. You can do it on Zoom if you want the audio video, which is good because a lot of us have broadcasts now. But if that's uncomfortable for you, then you figure how you have to dress. Look, I just ran in. So just do 21 shows. But even before you do that, make it really simple. Take a piece of paper, and on the piece of paper, just list 10 things that you love, right? And it could be your wife, your kids, your partner, your spouse, your grandkids, your dog, your cat. It could be the superhero movies. It could be whatever that is. It could be, for investors and notes and all that. There's a love to it, right, Scott?
Yeah.
So whatever that is, and here's the other thing that's going to happen. But Scott has a show already, right? That's what you're going to hear. But Scott's doing that already. Okay, Scott is a man of one who could definitely use an army, right? So, and think of you're all promoting one cause or many causes, but write down 10 things that you love. And then what I want all of you to do is spend just a couple minutes and rank them 1 to 10. And whatever sits in the top 5, pick one. And that's what you're going to do a show on today. It could be your grandkids, it could be your wife, it could be notes, it could be personal development, whatever that is. It could be your ownership and what that's meant to you and how that's freed you, passive income, rental coming in, whatever that is, and then do it 10 minutes, just 10 minutes, talk about it, what it's meant to you, and do what we call, Scott, is this good? Is this okay?
Perfect. Great.
Do what's called a visual, audio, and kinesthetic. It's a VAK. In the wording of while you talk about it, think of it in your mind. How does it look, hear, and feel? So as I'm walking down the street and I was looking at this house across the way from me, it's amazing how I felt the power in those tenants having a place to live. And not only do those tenants have a place to live, but I have a passive income where my family now has a place to live. And I'm realizing the difference I make in the world is I hear the children. So what you're doing is you're bringing it into your story. Have fun with it, make it big and huge. And after the show, say to yourself 2 things. Did I enjoy it or did I not? You can get much more complicated by that. But basically, was that fun or was that like, wow, this is a chore? So then that's how you can sort of see, is that for you? Or maybe you now can introduce it to somebody else who who would love to do that. And you don't have to do any editing. You don't have to do, if a car goes by, it's the way it's supposed to be. If a dog barks, it's the way it's supposed to be. However it's meant to be is exactly where you're at. Then when you finish that, you know what road you want to. That's just whittling down a little bit. And maybe, Scott, this is the only thing, is sometimes they pick like their number 1, but your number 1's not what you want to podcast about. It's not that thing that just, as they used to say in the Midwest when I go over, that cranks your tractor. It's not that thing that really holds on to you. So maybe do a show on the first 5. And then one of them you go, I could do this once a week. Easy. 20 minutes once a week. I could do this. Then I send the show off to somebody and they do the rest. The show goes up on all the networks. And Michael and Scott will pat my back and listen to my show, because you darn well know I'm going to email them and let them know. So that's a great way to get started and comfortable, because also being able to tell your message will help you in any business.
Mm-hmm. That's it's all about storytelling. That's what really identifies those out there, no matter what industry you're in. Is being able to tell the story and identify with your listeners, and being able to tell a story that they identify with it. Oh, I've been through that, or I understand that. Because I think a lot of people, well, we all know plenty of people who talk above their audience and not successful at all, right?
Right.
You want to talk down to your audience level. You want to be able to communicate with them. That's the practice of perfecting your podcast. It's just get in a habit of doing it. As I always say, you're going to go back and listen to your first 10 shows and hate them. But that's a point. We all evolve. People listening will evolve and see how well you're doing. And it just helps you not only when you're communicating the story, but when you're out talking in our space, talking to real estate investors, or talking to people at meetup groups or real estate investing clubs, or if you're going to a convention like Note Expo or the Distressed Mortgage Expo or 5-Star, hey, I've got a podcast. Oh, really? I want to listen to that. Mm-hmm. And go from there. And that's the beauty of it is, I think the stats I read, Michael, there's like 650,000 different podcasts that are available on there, but only 250,000 of them, so less than 40%, have an episode that's filmed an episode in the last 12 months.
Yeah. Is that amazing? And if you think of how many iPhones are out there, that's your audience. Just iPhones alone. Then you go to Android. Then, it's like the wild, wild west right now. It's so wide open and ready to go and looking for that million stars. It could handle 1 million stars today, and it wouldn't be saturated. Mm-hmm. And that is stunning from that point. But you're right. It is about painting that picture. It is, because again, when you take a look at those who do really well in real estate and those who do really well in investing, they tell a story. They paint that picture, and they do have the audience that you build. It's trust, right? It's painting the picture, but it's also, are you just real and genuine? And it's that and your show will just get out there. That's the other beauty about it. And with all of us podcasting, and Scott and I are very much about being a service, I've heard such great things about you, Scott, over and over and over and over from lots of people we know in common. But it is about being of service and getting out there and just be of service, and they'll come to your show and they'll be interested in what you do. And they'll want to come to your meetings and see what you're putting together, whether it's the local, again, the local investment group, wherever it is, they'll want to be part of it. And having that podcast is the new calling card.
Mm-hmm.
It is that with Facebook bots, but that's not me. That's a story for another day. So, but I know what they do. But that's not me. But those two things together is your calling card now.
Yeah, and I think that is it's a great way for people to get. I mean, a goldfish has a 9-second attention span. We've got an 8-second. It's all about being able to, grab their attention and listen to it. Video is great. Everybody's going using video. And I think if you're marketing, you've got to have video in what you're doing, just because that's where a lot of stuff is going, Facebook Live and Instagram TV, which we'll get to in a little bit here. But then you look at what LinkedIn is coming out with live video for next year. And then all the other channels, Twitter changing some of the things they're doing, a lot longer videos. They realize that's the wave, and you've got to start sharing that stuff on a regular basis. And it's not about what you look like. Okay. I have a face for radio here, buddy. All right. Yeah, exactly. That's the thing I laugh about with people. Like, look, don't be scared. It's not about you. And I know I've talked to a lot of ladies like, oh, I got to put my makeup on. Everything's be perfect. Nobody really gives a shit.
No, they don't. So this is the Scott and Michael Drive Time show. We want to just have you all have a good time. We got the voices for it.
Oh, yeah.
So we got half the battle, buddy. We got half the battle.
That's right.
But they don't. And that's, again, because there's stylists around, actually, YouTube. I mean, there's YouTube stylists that built up being stylists because they were stylists for YouTube influencers. So there's a whole market was created around everything that was done on the video. The great part about that audio is I work best if on stage. You should see me on one of those, the Singapore stages, the 50-foot stage. You should see me prancing around. And the whole audience, right? 5,000 people go that way, 5,000 people go. And it's like, and I can see in the back, they're going, sit still. But you can do that. You can move. You can be expressive. You can be live on podcasting. And even if you're cutting a video, I've cut videos where I'm walking up and down the street. Sometimes it's this, because I forget I have the camera. You just do it. That's the difference here. You don't need the production. The mics are great. These are directional. They're semi-directional. There's a million different mics. If you want to buy something a little fancier, it's under $100, and you are off and running. And you can create a dynasty and an empire being off and running, and because in the old days of network marketing, right, we used to have the locals, and we all also joined It's okay to say B&I, and we all, we were in front of people as much as we could be to present, and most of it was about listening. Here's the medium where it's about talking, right? And podcasting, but give something to the audience. Give that final tidbit, that note, whatever that is, and they'll just be with you forever because they're still all driving in their cars and they're listening and they're in their villages, whatever that is. Because of bandwidth, the one thing they can do is listen to a podcast. And so realize you are doing this. You're not just going to affect you. You're going to affect the whole world. And then when we get to driverless cars, video will be even more of us. So that's why eventually we teach everybody, get the video cut, just because of what's going on in the world out there. But, for your audience sake, Scott, start now. Just start now.
Take action and start doing something, because it's going to, I like to use the hashtag embrace the suck. You know what I mean?
That's great.
Embrace the suck. You're going to stink the first couple, but you're going to get better, exponentially better as you get rocking. You said something earlier on too. Just get the audio cut, get it recorded, and there's plenty of places or people out there that can take it and edit it for you, clean it up a little bit if you need to, or cut and splice it. That's kind of the thing that I look at. I'm overwhelmed with. I look at being in the niche market of note investing of really maybe 10, 20,000 people total in the United States that's really focused on this is something that's much more massive aspect of, but it's made up of so many little niches. They had a lady on there that was the Dirty Poop Show talking about their movements this weekend. I was like, okay, that's interesting. And then there's just all sorts of gamers and oh my gosh, if we've got an interest, whether it's notes or real estate or anything out there, just share something. It's a great way to find your audience, or as I say, help your audience find you. Literally this morning, I'm actually glad you were a couple minutes late getting on this morning. Not by much, but I had a lady call me who'd been listening to the podcast, true story, here in Austin, Texas. And she heard me mention something about a coaching that I have thing going on. She signed up this morning from that. That's not a $500 coaching. That's a $15,000 package with our one-on-one stuff. But she's like, no, I've been listening. I want to learn more. I have a credit card right now. I was like, oh, hang on a second. but if you're, I hear that more and more and more and more out there. Hey, we've been listening to your podcast. We've been listening to your message. We like what we're hearing. We're looking at your other stuff, and we want to work with you. And that's what really comes down. It helps build the rapport more than anything else, I think, with people, huh?
It makes a huge difference. And it's that, do I trust, know, and like you? And one thing that podcasting, it's interesting without the video, because we used to do neurolinguistic program. It's the language of business. We used to do coaching, and they always said, you can't do that on the phone. You have to be face-to-face. Well, all of our clients were in Australia, Hong Kong, and London, right? And our team was based here. So that's not going to happen when we fly around. And so we proved the model that they can know, like, and trust you just hearing you, right? Getting the tonality. And so what podcasting is allowing is to build that same relationship, and it builds really well. I mean, my son is dedicated listening to podcasting, and he's over Price Waterhouse, big, but he's listened to 10 years now. And he listens to the same podcast and donates to those podcasts because they're so awesome in his life. And he knows, likes, and trusts them because he's like, I hear who they are. I get the feeling of where they're going, and they've been there for me. That's why you have to be consistent about your show too, because you're doing it for them. And that's the beauty of what happens, Scott. It's stunning, actually, what's happened. And that's why we're doing some of what we are doing. To create that world, that environment, like a shared economy. We're bringing a shared economy to podcasting and to anybody who has a message.
Talk a little bit more about that, Michael. That's interesting.
So part of what I see is you get used to and I'm gonna because we're live, but there's a lot of worlds out there that were created where a lot of people had different shows and they knew each other. But there wasn't very much of a community around that. They got together at events, they did things together, but then you would get these conglomerates that basically made all the money and not the shows themselves. And then the conglomerates would fail or they'd sell off. And again, the shows didn't really make anything. So what we're doing is we're going to take podcasters, right? We're taking influencers, new shows, and we're going through a vetting process and bringing everybody into the best way to put it's a syndicate. We're going to bring everybody together, right? So right now, I know you're all thinking, I don't have a show. Okay, that's called limited thinking because you could have a show today and you could present what your show's about. And then we're going to put together this group of individuals of millions of downloads who will be on a call once a month to talk to each other, to help each other, create a community. And then at the same time, promote each other. But the thing is, we're going to do it together. So we're going to become a mighty force that does it together. And everybody within the syndicate will get a percentage. Does that make sense? Because from a business model, any business model, if you put together a syndicate, if you put together a buying group, you get together a real estate group, everybody should share in the model, or why are you doing this? Then you're just doing it for yourself. So we're going to create a model where everybody shares together. Everybody shares in the ups, the downs, the rights, the lefts, the income, the ad. We've already shopped it around. I can't tell you where, but big places. And we got a green light everywhere we go. And so my expertise is, I can talk, but building communities. I've built coaching teams around the world, hundreds of thousands of people. So what I'm going to do with the podcasters, and we're actually working with an entertainment group in Hollywood, blah, blah, blah. But the point is, we're going to build a community together, which is what inspired the head of product marketing for Instagram TV to join what we're doing. Because he comes from YouTube and he loves the YouTube world. He was there for 5 years and helped build it, and tried to work on that community. So bringing that community together, just as we say, floats everybody's boat. And that's what we're doing. And that's what we're excited by, because that's legacy again, Scott. That's that same piece. No, you're not going to be sitting at home doing your little show and no one's ever going to hear you. We're going to make sure millions of people, what you want to do with it's your choice. Not everybody wants to do anything bigger than that, but at least get others to hear what you're saying. And that's what we're building. We're building it very fast. And we're also having podcasting events around it. And there's going to be probably next year cruises, which you're going to come on. We're going to bring you with us.
I'm excited about it. Now, you've got an event upcoming here shortly too, don't you?
We do. So what we're doing is this event we're keeping much more intimate. It's Viral Marketing Bootcamp. You can go to viralmarketingbootcamp.com. And at this event, we're actually the head of product marketing for Instagram TV is going to be there. And he's just not speaking on stage in front of 10,000 people. This is a very small, intimate event because we're shooting. What we're doing, we're not shooting, but we're doing camera shots. So we actually rented a stage to do the camera shots. And then I said, why don't we invite some people to be there if they want to be there? We'll punt it out. I don't care if seriously, I'm from the event world. If 5 people show up to 100, it's not what it matters. We rented a space for a professional shoot. So first of all, if you want to be part of a professional shoot, come on down. Secondly, if you want to spend half the day with the head of Instagram TV, come on down, right? Does that make sense? We're also going to bring one of the original podcasters who's been podcasting almost from the beginning. And he's just going to talk about podcasting, the message. But again, it's very intimate. It's very intimate, even though we're in a theater. It's going to be everybody's going to basically be in the front row. And it's a very intimate experience of where's your business? Where's it moving forward? We'll work a little on mindset because we're filming the whole thing. And we're going to show you what a big show is like. I'm even going to talk about putting on events from 5 people to 1,000 people, what that means. How do you do it? So we're just going to load the box on it, Scott. And we have influencers coming in from YouTube because we're going to film them. But they said, I'll give content. I'll make connections. So anybody in social media, in real estate, right, doing notes, anybody in personal development, anything you're doing in any business, you're going to learn about marketing. You're going to learn about marketing 101, podcasting 101. You're going to be able to meet those influencers who are actually doing it, and actually the guy at Instagram who's making it happen. And his story is amazing. So, and actually we have some Hollywood talent coming too. So it's going to be just a fun day. Realize you're going to sort of be part of this shoot. And so you can just go to www.viralmarketingbootcamp.com, sign up, join us. There is a VIP package if you want. It's just a breakout lunch. I say just, my team would kill me, but it is. We just want you there. For me, it's about, again, I'm positioning a business. The other thing too is we are looking for the podcasters who want to join a syndicate. So you can contact me, and Scott can give you my information. We can talk about that later. We're really looking for messaging and messages.
Exactly. So one of the great things, everybody, viralmarketingbootcamp.com. It's slated for March 23rd, which is a Saturday in LA. And if they go to the website, it's all there available for you. Great opportunity for you guys that are out in the West Coast, especially for those listening to us in our Long Beach, LA radio station out there this morning. An opportunity for you to just drive up there. Those that are in Las Vegas, just going on over there at 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. is the time slot for it, the LA Convention Center. That's just a small venue, Michael. Come on, man. The LA Convention Center, it's just a small little event. Come on.
It actually will be. This is where you need to know. And by the way, I'll teach all of you who come there about how to get a great venue for almost no cost. Because think of yourself, if you're doing a show and for almost no cost, if you could have a great venue where you could have one iPhone and you look like you're on a massive stage, and you could have sound and lights for almost nothing, and you can create a whole environment. So I actually will have the team there who's doing all the filming. And if anybody wants to do a 3-minute message, we're happy to cut it for you. So, and they don't even know that yet, but it's intimate and we'll get it done. Anybody, anything you want, just show up.
So if you go to the website, for those that are listening to you, John Uche, I don't know if I pronounced his name right. Uche, is that correct? Do you know?
Yeah, that's fine. He's fine any way you do it. Yoshai.
I met John actually in Las Vegas a while back with our buddy Mark Usick. Joe was out there visiting with Mark for a day. Got a chance to visit with him. But he's the viral marketing. He's the guy that worked at YouTube for 5 years. Amazing guy. Literally learned some great nuggets from him. You guys, that's worth the whole price of admission there to you. Michelle Sora, who's a TV host and social influencer. She's current on Emmy-winning entertainment TV shows Extra and host of the Mindset Mashup, a top 10 podcast of self-help. You got Sam Crowley, host of the top motivational podcast Every Day is Saturday. Downloaded over 15 million times in 100 countries. That's awesome. Bill Walsh, venture capitalist and businessman, will be there. And of course, Mark Usick will be there, our human behaviorist, master, and hypnotist. Just a good buddy. And then I think we'll see Michael will be there as well, right, Mike?
I think I'll be there. I think I'll be there. And it's going to be a fun day. It's going to be a fun day. So show up, be ready to have fun, dress like you might be on camera, and we're just going to have a great time. And again, remember, if your network is your net worth, think of this as a networking event. Mm-hmm. You're about to meet some of the top producers in several industries who are driving towards a podcasting direction. But you're also going to John's going to do a whole piece on just how to do your message in any business. So, in notes, real estate, or whatever whatever it is for you, whatever you want to learn, how to drive your message when you're sitting in front of 3 people or 1,000.
Exactly. And you guys, tickets on this are very affordable. $29 for the just general admission, but then $99 for the VP, which includes the lunch and the happy hour afterwards. So very affordable for anybody's budget. For you, if you're out in the West Coast, heck, you jump on Southwest today, book some tickets, and fly out there for a Saturday, pretty cheap.
Yeah, again, that's why we kept it. The price is basically saying, and here's something just so everybody knows. Why do you charge something? You do because they make some kind of investment. When you make an investment, you show up. What I want is, again, no matter who's sitting there, that you've invested something to be here, your time and your money. That means you'll play full out through the day. That means if I need to stop them on stage for a second and say, we're going to start again, you're going to see how it works from a reshoot. So you're going to learn the different things, but you're going to play with us and have fun the whole time.
That's the whole idea, doing and having fun, right?
I agree. We have too much fun, Scott. We got to stop that. And we live on the road having fun. Somebody once said, God, being on the road really sucks. And then the famous line is, yeah, that's somebody who's not stayed in 5-star hotels around the world. So, and it's what you make of it too. It's having, why we build teams and why you have a team, Scott, is because wherever I go, I have my family, right? Mm-hmm. It's my family, but it's also my team, and the team's out there, and it's really great. So yes, please, all of you, come on down. We're just going to have fun. And it's a big show. You're going to feel like you're in a stadium. It's going to be lights and musics. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Good stuff out there. Now, what else, what other things would you recommend to people out there if they can't make that, on things like that? You're building a syndicate, which I'm excited to hear about more. So we're going to have to talk some more about that. But you've been working with Mark Usick as well, our buddy, for a while, and doing some other things out there. What are some easy things that people can do to really maybe help boost their voice, boost their, I don't want to say not credibility, but boost getting their message out there besides podcasting? What are some things that you would recommend you think are effective in working in today's market, Michael?
Yeah, it's still, there's a lot around the one-to-one. So a couple things, and I'm sure you've talked about this, but, any local networking events, number one. So local networking events. It could be chamber, BNI, meetup. It does not matter. What you want to do is keep telling your story. But when you tell your story, this is how you say it. You meet somebody, you say, very nice to meet you. My name's Michael Silvers. Tell me about yourself. I never start first. If I start first and they ask me to, I'll say, I'm part of an entertainment group that's working on building a message out there for the world. So now what do you do? I turn it right back around as soon as I can. But go to these groups, go to the groups. And I still say Toastmaster, right? We still make it very simple. You go to these networking events. The other thing that you do is go to the personal development events, especially the entry events. They're usually free, right? Because you're going to meet more people who are heading or want to head in your direction, want to be an entrepreneur. And again, don't go there to poach. That's something I don't. Go there to really learn about people. And you could instantly build your Rolodex up to probably anywhere from 100 to 300 people within 1 or 2 events. The other thing we say is, so you do your local events. I have actually, and some people don't like doing this, I joined a chamber. right? When I first started way back, and I went to every business in my community, and I would walk in, I would say, you're obviously a very successful businessman, because they are. I know you've been here a couple of years. I've eaten at your restaurant 100 times. Would you mind sitting down with me for 10 minutes and just telling me your story of how you started? The more stories you hear, it helps you develop your message. And as you develop your message, you're also developing relationship with them. Don't go in thinking they're going to buy, join, invest. That's not it. Go in truly finding out about them. You could do this in a day. In one day, you could hit all the businesses, especially if you're in a small community. And then all of a sudden, you've built a whole relationship with these business people, and then find the entrepreneurs. So local events, community work always makes a big deal. Social media, anything you can learn, don't do it yourself, hire other people. You know, podcasting, because it's so easy, it gets your message out there. Join a syndicate if you've got a story to tell, because then you've got millions of other people basically saying you've got to listen to this person, and we do all the work anyways. And just keep being of service. The other thing too is being of service, Scott. When you're a member, when you're at a soup kitchen, when you're at a Rotary, it's all about being of service. It's still building connections, and there's nothing wrong with that if you're there for the right mindset and heart.
That's the truth. And I think one of the biggest nuggets I was given early on is to get people talking about themselves. Mm-hmm. That's what you just said. Hey, tell me your story. Because if they're talking about themselves and you're asking them questions, they're naturally going to like you. Oh, he took an interest. It's like dating 101 for guys. Okay.
Right. That's exactly right.
If you're going to go on a date with a girl or a guy, whatever your flavor is, it's totally fine. Get your date, ask them questions, and get them talking about themselves. The more they talk about themselves, the more questions they're asking, the more they're going to like and trust you. And that's why it's important. I think one of the biggest things too out there, if you do develop an audience, ask your audience questions. One of the things that I love doing about twice a year, I'll send an email to my whole database, say, hey, how are we doing? What can we do better? You know, what subjects are you looking for? You know, what can I help? What can I be of service to you about? You know, what are things that you're looking, because they'll send you back things like, well, I never even thought about that. You know, because I think sometimes we get so busy banging our head against the tree, we forget to see the forest, right, Michael?
All the time.
All the time. That's why I got this big, thick forehead right here.
All the time. All the time.
That could be the name of a company, Tree Bashers.
Oh, wait a minute. That's a podcast. There's another name of a great podcast. Tree Bashers. Oh, you could do so much with that show. But anyways, I actually was going to just, when it all started and YouTube started to hit, I wanted to create a show, blow something up. I don't want to use the term here, right? And it was taken already. I could not believe it, right? I just thought, because, you know, the grandsons, remember the chemistry experiments that go poof, you're like, oh my gosh, what if we did a show around that? That was taken too. So, but you know what the great thing about podcasting in this whole world, because it's not so visual, it doesn't matter if things are taken or not. They're going to hear your voice and just think, that's a guy I want to listen to. Mm-hmm. Or I have time to listen to all these different things. But yeah, it's an amazing world now, Scott. It's just, it's fun, it's fascinating, and it's moving fast.
Yeah, the Unabomber, the days of being a Unabomber, staying at home and being a hoarder, hiding and being afraid of the world, those days are getting behind you. You're going to be, those days of business aren't there anymore. You've got to start taking action. You've got to come to the 21st century. And as I like to say here, Scotty's here to help beam you up.
Oh, now I like you even more. Can we start talking Star Trek or leave it alone? Go ahead.
Not quite yet. But you talk about having that chemistry set. When I was growing up, my dad owned a local hardware store. So I had all sorts of stuff, blowing up mailboxes, which is a federal offense, or blowing up roots. Right. or using acid to make some cool colors on stuff. Oh, yeah. All sorts of fun stuff growing up. But that's the thing is, everybody has the ability to craft their own message these days. And I think that's what scares a lot of people out there, is that starting point. And I love the fact that you gave that kind of formula at the beginning. Hey, write down 10 things. And the top 5 things are things you're going to talk about. But I heard a good tip from a buddy of mine over the weekend. Say, okay, if you want to get started, then write down a great way to kind of guide things. If we're going to be talking about a specific subject, write 10 FAQs, frequently asked questions. Mm-hmm. And that'll be specific chapters or specific episodes. And then write 10 SAQs, should ask questions of those out there. So now you've got 20 episodes or 20 questions that you can dedicate to your message, your marketing, specific things out there. And then if you want to take another thing, 10 other wild ball questions. So you've got your kind of your outline, and then that should give you enough to look back to see what's doing well, what people are liking, and then crafting the message and constantly going from there. Because this show has evolved. Oh my gosh, in the 2+ years we've been doing this with Facebook Lives, it's evolved dramatically on different things. And that's what happens, right, Michael?
It does. And it will change, and your show will change. And then you'll have different people on. And some of you, here's the other thing that just quickly is, well, do I have to have all these bigger personalities on, or do I? No, most shows are just about you, and realize that's all it needs to be. And the biggest thing, again, just get it done. Just get it done. And the great thing about joining a syndicate, or when we used to join, like we used to bring the coaching divisions together, and we have on call 1,000 coaches, right? And 98% of them are not even coaching. They were they had joined the coaching division to learn how to talk to their clients and their businesses. We had attorneys on there, doctors, and so this is the same thing. Part of the reason you joined a syndicate is, first of all, you're not alone. Secondly, and you might not even do a podcast show ever, right? But you're going to learn how we language, how we speak, the marketing, and get all those pieces as a team. And that's where we really need to do this as a family.
That's the truth. That's a great way to look at it. Because if you can rely on other people, the journey's a lot sweeter. You have people to bounce ideas off of, mastermind, ideas from other people. Your learning curve isn't as long or as steep, because you've got people say, hey, don't do that. I've done that. That didn't work. Let's try it this way. Here's a way to make it easier for you. Right, Michael?
That's right. That's exactly right. Very well stated.
Well, once again, guys, the event, once again, we're talking about is the Viral Marketing Level Up Boot Camp, Viral Marketing 2019, the Level Up Boot Camp by the Vertical Group. That website, again, is viralmarketingbootcamp.com. March 23rd from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. You do not want to miss out on this amazing opportunity out in LA for you guys. I will be out in that neck of the woods. I'll be dropping by, because I was planning on being up there in San Diego for Social Media Marketing World. I think just drive up to LA for the day then.
I think you might. I was going to make it formal, but yes. Thank you. Scott's the best. We might even just pop him in front of a camera just for the heck of it.
Good times. Good times definitely there for you. Well, Michael, is that the best way for them to tap in? Is go to that website and get registered? Or is there another way you'd like people to reach out to you?
Yeah, go to the website and register. The other thing you can do, and I have no problem ever with this, my email address is msilvers, SILVERS, at VTGRP, Vertical Group, VTGRP.com. If you have a podcast show or idea and you're just stuck, or you think being part of a conglomerate is something for you, just email me and we'll put you on the list. You could be on the first call and we'll figure it out from there. We're going to do this as a family and a team. And again, they're too busy. Don't ever think that way in business, right? Right, Scott? How truly busy are we compared to how we could be? And of course, we're going to see you all at the event. I want to see you guys live who are in the area or flying over or flying out for it. We have people coming in from all over for it.
Well, we're looking forward to it, Michael. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Note Closure Show today, man. Appreciate it. Look forward to hanging with you and getting to know you better. All right, brother?
All right. Thank you, Scott. Thank you for being on. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Michael. All right, guys, that's going to wrap it up for this episode of the Note Closure Show. Like I said, go out there, take advantage of that special opportunity. Discounted tickets, viralmarketingbootcamp.com. Once again, Level Up Bootcamp and March 23rd. All-day event there for you. Great opportunity to really learn some great things and see behind the scenes of a big event for a moderate price. Basically, hey, and you got lunch thrown in every once in a while for the VIP and a happy hour too. Why not? Lunch, drinks, action, right? So go out and make something happen, everybody. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you all at the top, everybody. Bye.